Howdy. Welcome to my first video on my new Kyle T. Davis channel. I hope you guys are watching and enjoying. So we'll see, I got lots of different stuff to go on. So the premise of this channel, in a nutshell, as this is my first video, is going to be twofold. It is going to be the art of storytelling and how I've kind of see that and how that's affected me, and kind of go over discussions and also examples that I have gone through in my personal writing experiences. And then it's going to be storytelling, my random stories for the most part, and kind of, so both the practical example as well as the theory and talking and example side of it. So let's jump right into it. The first one I want to talk about is my new book, A Protector's Beginning. It's the first one in the Jasonverse series. So I started writing that back in 2012, I believe. So it's been a long time. So I shelved it for quite a long time, then repolished it and shelved it and repolished it. So I had always wanted to write. And never did much. I dabbled here and there, wrote a few short stories, did a little bit, started a novel, stopped a novel, never really did much. It wasn't until this book that I really would have considered myself a writer, or even trying to truly invest in it. It really came about, so I had several different ideas. And at the time, I was working a terrible job, just this terrible job for this semi-truck outfit. I was the maintenance guy for the building, not for the trucks. It was just a horrible job. And a lot of things were happening. I was just feeling really stuck. And my wife, bless her, the most amazing person I know, really encouraged me to say, you know what, you gotta write. You just gotta do it. Just start scene one. Just throw some words on. Puke them on paper. It doesn't matter. And that is some of the best writing advice I've ever gotten. Your first page, your first paragraph, your first line of your first novel, I think of any novel, any story that you write, is going to suck. That's just the way it is. That's the point. You're getting it out. It's the bones. It's just the frame. You're just getting these ideas out, and you start flexing that muscle, because writing is a muscle. And that's where it starts to go, and that's what I've really learned. And that advice has always stuck with me. Just throw it out. Start. Just get something. You can start with, just throw a line of curse words down for all I care, and then just go from there. Because, it can't be worse than a line of curse words. Go back and erase those, of course, before you submit it anywhere. So the Protector's Beginning really started out as two concepts that I was really thinking about. And I've always been a huge fan of that start of, that item kind of power archetype, where someone gets something, the ring, or sword or whatever, and it bestows upon them a power. I didn't want to go with just the cliche. I wanted to bring it a little bit farther and bring in more of a sense of morality and more of a sense of, personification for the item. So such as the ring actually became almost sentient in itself, that it would choose the person. So that was a really big deal for that. The next thing is, the Jasonverse idea also came along the lines of, I wanted to write a young adult novel that doesn't start with a 14-year-old skinny kid. Now, don't get me wrong, those are awesome. Some great stories out there with really young skinny kids starting off. But I wanted to start with something that was a little farther along, something that would push that boundary of young adult, but at the same time still keep it rooted there. So start with the characters a little older. So Jason starts at 17 in the book, but he doesn't start at 0. That's where I see a lot of the characters, they start with nothing, and they got combat training and all this, and they learn these new skills. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to start with someone who was already experienced and see how far we could push him. See, what's that limit? What's that expectation? How far can we get? So that's why he starts physically fit, combat trained. He knows his way around guns. He knows his way around a fight. His uncle is an ex-special forces, Delta Force type of guy. So he's really taught him all this. And then it's to take that type of person and give him this power. And then give them this moral duty now to use that for good. And then to also really progress and see that training. And I don't want to get deep into the story and have any spoilers for it, but that's really looking at, how does that affect a young man? How does he grow into this new role? And how far can he push himself? How far can the limits of this go? Is it the ring, or is it himself doing this? And, that's kind of a big thing of how he started it. Yeah, so it was definitely an effort. I put in, probably 20 to 30 hours a week, give or take, to write the book. It took me about 8 months. Now, of course, this is my first, which hopefully I could write it much faster. But I wasn't working full time. I had a terrible job, as I said. It was horrible. It was one of the inspirations actually to write. It was one of the few things that gave me that true relief to be able to dive into my stories every night and just escape into a new world. And so it was that, I drove 2 hours every day. My wife was pregnant with our first child at the time. I mean, I was busting my butt just trying to work and get this done. And it came to nothing. I did. I queried it, and nothing ever happened. And then I rewrote it and did the same thing again. And then eventually, after years of time and going through in several more iterations, writing another novel, writing a lot more short stories, really getting more into the craft, I decided to self-publish it. And that's where I start to see a little more control of what I have over my writing career. And kind of that impetus to say, you know what, I can do this. I can go out and find another way. I'm going to make this happen. And that's a really big thing. So, and I do cover that in another video, kind of the whole self-publishing process, just on a personal level. If you want advice, I will give some amazing advice videos in that video. I'll link to them because there's people much smarter than me when it comes to self-publishing. So I really hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can see the next content coming. Also, please check out my other videos. I will be posting as often as I can. And as always, please check out my sites below, my Twitter, my Facebook, and my new website. And as we will always do on these videos, as much as I can remember them, it's lame joke time. I love lame jokes. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with them. So, here's one of my favorites. So these are two apples, and they're in an oven. The first apple looks at the second apple and says, "Man, I think it's hot in here." That second apple looks back at the first apple and goes, "Holy crap, a talking apple."